In this tutorial, we will take a look at how to total a column of numbers in VBA with a variable range of data. In order to accomplish this, we have a data set from the New York City Police Department, which shows a subset of its employees with salaries. We would like a total to appear at the bottom of the last employee in this data set. In our VBA Excel window, we are going to start out our VBA. We're going to give it a name, and we'll call this anything we would like, and we'll give it add salary. The next thing we need to do is define a couple of variables that we will be using later on. We will be using a variable called A, and we'll define that as currency. And we'll have another variable, and we'll call that I, and we'll also define that, and we'll give it an integer. We now need to find the last row of our particular column that we would like to add up. In this case, it would be column E, which is the fifth column, and it's the 14th row. However, this could change if the data set gets larger or smaller. So therefore, I need to figure out what the last row is in my data set. In order to do that, we can actually type in a command. We'll call it last row. Again, this is just a variable. It can be any variable that you'd like to call it. It's not reserved. And then we have active sheet dot cells. And in active sheet dot cells, so this is the current sheet that we're in, which is citywide payroll data fiscal year. In this active sheet, the cells we have is rows dot count. Give me the total number of rows in column 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Give me the total number of rows in column 5. And then when I finish that, I'd like you to go up, XL up dot row. So go to the bottom where you can't get any more data, and then go up, and it should give me the value of 14. So again, if the variable amount of data changes, it will always give me the last row's value. Now we're going to set A, the variable, equal to 0. And we're going to start a for next loop. For I equal last row, which in this case it should be 14, last row to 2. So we're going to go from 14 to 2. And again, we stop at 2 because the first particular row has the titles of each of the columns. And we're going to have to do this by step, and we can put in by. It's not required, but we'll put that in to make it a little more clearer. And it's by -1. So we're going from here to here backwards, okay, until we get to the actual number 2. So it does this loop, and when doing this loop, it's going to take A, which right now is 0, and add it to active sheet dot cells I, which again is going to start out with our variable, which is going to be 14, and it's going to go to column 5. So it's rows for the first, column is the second parameter. So it's going to row 14, column 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's starting out here in row 14, column 5 in E14, and it's going to add that value. So we have to tell it to actually put in the value in that particular variable A. So A is equal to 0 plus the active sheet cells I 14, comma 5. Row 14, column 5, give me the value. Once it has that value in that particular, and let me put a close parenthesis here for syntax, it's going to return 77,253. And we're going to put a next loop in here. And it's going to continue this loop, going through this cell, this cell, this cell, every one of these cells until it gets to the top. When it gets to the top, it finishes that loop because it went to the value of 2. And then it's going to finish up and hit the next statement. The next statement, when it finishes the for next loop, says active sheet, again, these are reserved words, cells, last row is 14 plus 1. 14 plus 1 is 15. So put me in the 15th row, column 5, and that value should be equal to A. And that should actually put the total of that column in this cell. And A is defined as currency, so it should run and put currency in this cell here. So we need to test this, so we'll click on the run, and there we have it. It gives us the total of all these numbers with the total in the last row in this position, which is 15. If I wanted to run this again, it should be variable, so no matter where I am in my worksheet, it should now total up everything, including my last value, which is the total. And if I run that, it works properly. So this is the code that will help you add up totals in a column. At any time, if you want to see what a value is throughout your particular VBA code, you can always put in a message box that will help you see what things are in terms of their value. So if I wanted to put in message box last row, we'll see how that looks. So I click on that. It tells me my last row is 16, and sure enough, that's correct. It was 14 when we started our particular VBA for this problem. So there you have it. Adding up a column of numbers in VBA with a variable length and formatting them to the currency value or any value that you wish to include in that cell. Thank you.